Hello and welcome to another edition of Breaking Barriers. I am your host CJ Devgan. The objective of this channel is to share with you business concepts and proven techniques that will help you grow and reach your goals. Our topic for today is why do we need status reports on Agile projects? Continuing our theme from the last week, reasons why it is critical that you track and measure your project's progress so that you can maintain optimal performance and deliver desired results, meaning continue to generate business value. In the project world, the result of tracking and measuring your project progress is published in the form of a status report. You can publish status report every day, every week, every bi-week, or every month. On most of my projects, I have published status report every week, and in some instances where project is cruising smoothly, we can publish it bi-weekly, but no longer than that. Again, it is very important that you understand why you are creating a status report, because it does take effort and time to prepare one. So for me, there are three primary reasons why we publish status report. Number one, to understand your project's health by evaluating key performance indicators. Number two, to get data on open RAID items so you can take appropriate action. And what does RAID means? Risk, actions, issues and decisions. And number three, it helps you and other critical stakeholders to take timely and appropriate actions to keep the project on track. Now I have few cardinal rules when it comes to producing a status report. Rule number one, it must be reliable. Number two, information provided is actionable. And number three, data is timely. I've seen examples where data is obsolete or stale. So how do we achieve this? So it is a 5-step exercise. Step number one, agree on what are you going to measure. Working with your product owner, product sponsors and other critical stakeholders, you must come to an agreement on what are the critical matrices or indicators that you are going to report on. Step number two, how are you going to measure and calculate? For example, what are the various statuses in a user story lifecycle? So you must come to an agreement. Now there are multiple different examples. In scenario number one, a story lifecycle starts at grooming, ready for development, in development and done. And in scenario number two, which I normally prefer, is story is in grooming, ready for technical elaboration in progress, ready for development. That's a life cycle of a story before it is ready for development. Then second life cycle starts, which is in development, ready for testing, in testing, ready for demo to PO and done. Now you can choose whatever status you want for a user story lifecycle, but it is critical that at the start of the project you come to an agreement as to how you're going to measure a progress of a user story. Now, if you're like me and you're also going to report what percent is complete on your status report, then it is important that you know how are you going to assign percent complete per story, and are all user stories weighted equally, or if they are one story point user story and there's a 13 story point user story, how are you going to calculate percent complete? And so it is very, very important. Now, example again, I will give you. If something is ready for development, the status is percent complete is obviously 0. But if it is in development, right, I will give a status of 20. If it is ready for testing, I will give a status of 40. If it is in testing, I will give a status of 60. If it is ready for demo to PO, I will give status of 80. And only when it is done, I will give a status of 100. Now, you can also go back and say, okay, if it is ready for development, 0. If it is in development or any stage from development to ready for PO, it is 50. And only when it is done, it is 100. So there are only 3% completes we are tracking. 0%, in progress 50%, and when done 100%. So it is very, very important that you sit down with your product owners and critical stakeholders and understand how are you going to calculate these measures. Step number three, very important. What is your source of truth? It is very important that there is a single source of truth, whether it is Microsoft Project Server or Jira, and everybody understands that whatever information is listed in these servers, that is the true status. And step number 4, you must create a baseline. Now, if you are doing a percent complete, which I am a big advocate of, now what does that mean? So how many user stories were planned versus actually done? For example, if you have a strict deadline to deliver 80 user stories in 12 weeks and you are in week number 7 and the plan was to complete 45 user stories, but you have only completed 30 user stories, you clearly can tell that you are behind schedule. So the next step is to understand why and what help can you provide to your team. Can you provide more bodies? Can you ask team to do overtime? Or do you sit down with your stakeholders and say, we need to push out the go live date or trim down the scope of work that is going to be, i.e. features that are going to go into production at the end of week 12. Now, step number 5, which is also one of the most important step, is creating a dashboard that is automated, meaning there is very minimal human effort that goes into publishing your status reports. You must identify who are your critical stakeholders, understand their data needs, and ensure that your reporting tool is collecting and collating all the required data elements. Number 2, create dashboard views that provide an appropriate level of details that different stakeholders can consume and understand. And number 3, the ultimate goal is to automate publishing of these status reports on these dashboards with minimal human effort. Avoid manual massaging of data at all cost. In a nutshell, the weekly status report is a window for your product owner, sponsor, and other stakeholders to help assess the state of your project. It must clearly communicate what help you require and be specific from who and by when. The objective is that project stakeholders can take timely and appropriate action, i.e. provide resources, remove blockers, so the project can maintain acceptable performance. That is it for today. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear from you and answer any questions you may have. You can reach me at cjdevgan.com or can ask your questions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, adios.